Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
This is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. Today I'm joined by Tony Vicich, a veteran comedian, entrepreneur, founder of ComedySchools.com, who has spent more than a couple decades helping aspiring comics develop their voice and reaching national stages. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate that very much. And the audience doesn't know this, but thank you for the tutorial on how to properly set up a Zoom. I've been doing it for 5 years and I still didn't have it set up right until I spoke with you.
Haha. Well, no, this is great. I appreciate you making time for us, Tony.
Sure.
So why don't you give everyone a snapshot of sort of what you're doing right now and how you got there?
Well, right now I'm sitting in a chair and I got here from walking through that door. Right. I run, I'm the owner of ComedySchools.com, and we run stand-up comedy and performance workshops. As of last month, we have now been doing them continuously live and in person in the Valley of the Sun in the greater Phoenix area. We do them at the Tempe Improv, Desert Ridge Improv, stand-up live. I've also done them in other cities, San Diego, St. Louis, Detroit, Los Angeles. And we've helped people develop. We've had people go all the way from our very first workshop to national television. And a lot of people in other lines of work have told me that our workshops have been incredibly helpful, or sometimes they leave off incredibly and just say helpful in their current lines of work, whether it's sales or other forms of entrepreneurship.
Okay, excellent. And how did you get into the space?
Quite by accident. I had been a touring stand-up comic for 15 years. For 15 years, I toured around. That's how I paid for the house, the car, the kids' braces, the whole thing. I did a bunch of cable shifts. That's what I was a comic. After 15 years, I was still doing okay. I was making a living, but it wasn't doing for me what I wanted it to do. Someone suggested that I try teaching workshops. I told them it was a silly idea. They pointed out that I had studied method acting for a long time and directed theater and written for some of the top comics in the country. And I didn't disagree with them. It was true. And suggested, I thought I'd do it for a year. And how I started in San Diego, where I just took out ads in their weekly alternative paper, like the New Times in Phoenix is supposedly our alternative paper. They had one in San Diego. Those ads were affordable. With my phone number, when enough people called, I rented a boardroom in a Red Lion Honolulu hotel near San Diego and stood there in that boardroom and talked. And when I was finished, X amount of people in the room said, "Here's some money. We'll see you again next week." That's how I started the business. Then the people out here in Tempe, I knew them from my time as a touring comic. They were friends of mine, and they said, "We heard what you're doing." I go, "Oh." And they said, "Why don't you do it out here?" And I go, "I don't live here." And they go, "Well, we'll support you in this. We'll give you the space." And kind of, and then there it was flyers on the table and a video, and then pretty much the same I do a free intro. I want people to really see what they're getting into before I take their money. And it just really took off here. So that's how I started. Just, little bitty ads in the back of a newspaper, flyers on a nightclub table, and the willingness to show up.
Okay. And a lot less travel, I imagine. That might, as a family guy, when you have kids at home and stuff, that must have been quite a lifestyle challenge.
That was the major driver, to be frank with you. Like most people that are entertainment, I'm a bit selfish. It's all about me. But at that point, I have a daughter. I was going through a change in marital status, and I wanted to make sure that I was in her life. I couldn't now be gone for 4 weeks, Vegas, Cincinnati, Sheboygan, Atlantic City, come home, be home for 3 weeks. That was kind of not working anyway for me. It wasn't fulfilling me creatively. It wasn't fulfilling me as a dad. So I go, I've got to do something else, anything else. I don't care. I'll work a straight job and, go on auditions again, just to make sure that I am in her life full time. So that was really the main driver. My
Okay.
whole schedule is built around me originally being home when I had custody.
Right. Okay. Okay. Before that, what drew you originally to comedy?
It's the same thing where just like with this, I thought it was a weird idea when it was suggested to me. I was in an argument with someone on Robertson Boulevard, right near where uh, that restaurant is now, where they do a reality show about Vanderpump Rules. I don't know if it's still on, but right near there, it wasn't there at the time, thank God. But I was in an argument with someone, and a girl walked up to me. I'd been in a meeting, and a girl walked up and goes, "You ever thought about doing stand-up comedy?" I went, "What is wrong with you?" And she goes, "No, my father is a co-owner of a comedy club here in town." And I go, "Yeah, which club?" She goes, "Well, the Improv, which was about a mile or two away on Melrose Avenue." I go, "Really?" Because I hung out there, you know.
Okay.
And she suggested I do my first open mic night, introduced me to some people, and I had originally moved to Los Angeles to do what everybody moves to when they move to Los Angeles to become a famous person, to as I like to put it, ride the horse, punch the bad guy, and kiss the girl. To be a famous movie star in famous Western movies, to be a hero. Um, for about 99% of the people that move to Los Angeles to do that, it doesn't work. Some go on to other very successful careers in the entertainment business, you know. But I had been banging around, and I was directing theater at the time, and I had just quit drinking too. So I was sober and didn't know what I was going to do next. And this woman made a suggestion, and that's kind of how that happened.
Okay. Do you remember when you like the first time you genuinely had an audience laugh and realized this could be
Yeah, it was
fulfilling?
last week. Finally, after all these years, I got this giggle, and I go, "That's what it sounds like." Because I've been wearing little earplugs that pipe in laughter. That just it makes me feel good. I don't. No, I don't remember. I know. So my first open mic night was at a place called the Laugh Factory, which is still there on the Sunset Strip. It was a smaller club at the time, and my first audience was consisted of two people, and the woman who was running the club that Monday night, and the guy who drove me. That's the only people that were in the room. I don't remember my first laugh so much as I do remember that feeling, even though the room it was ridiculous at one level. The room was empty, except for the manager and my buddy, Eric. Yet when, I think there must have been an MC there because someone went up and said my name, and when I went up there, still that journey, and it is a journey from sitting at a table to walking up on that stage was uh, I can't describe the feeling of excitement, and dread, and anxiety, and anticipation and joy, all kind of rolled up into the same ball inside your body.
Yeah. Not much
So
quite like it.
yeah, there's nothing like it. I do remember that. I don't remember any laughs. Then I started inviting friends of mine out, and at the time, my friends were either aspiring actors and musicians and comics are already established. Uh, People whose names you people probably don't know now, but were kind of big at one time. Michael Pare, who was in Eddie and the Cruisers, and Streets of Fire was a friend of mine. Steve Jones, the lead guitarist from the Sex Pistols. These were friends of mine, and they would start coming out of the show and then just kind of stare at me, going, "What happened?" And I go, "What?" He goes, "Well, you were funny when we were standing out in the corner. And you went up there and that's when I first realized that what most people do when they go on stage, including me, is they go up there and act like a comic instead of
Ah,
just going up there and being. So that's always the long journey is just being yourself, you know.
well,
Yeah.
um, there's a lot of lessons in being on stage, and I think you're well positioned to help people with that with a lot of training and experience. But what has it taught you about confidence, right? Resilience, reading people.
I tell you what it's taught me. Um, what it's taught me is empathy. It's taught me empathy. The longer I teach, the more my cynicism is reduced to a small, insignificant kernel. The more I think, look, I'm going to be 71 next week, and I think there's two kinds of. So I think I'm officially an old guy now, and I'm very comfortable with that. There's two kinds of old guys, and they're the ones that think they know everything. Let me tell you something, buddy. And the ones that go, wow, I really don't know anything, and I still want to learn. And I thank God that I've fallen into the second category. So everybody who comes to me wants something, and what they want is a pretty good thing. They want to make people feel good. Maybe don't think that way. I want to be a comic initially. I mean, they don't. Maybe that's not their conscious thought. I want to make people laugh. That's what they want. And my job is to help them get to that point, not to judge them, not to tell them I already know everything, not to be. When I started out in LA, we would go to these acting classes, and a lot of them are still taught by, these really wonderful but ancient teachers who are all like of Eastern European descent. Some had canes, and you'd be up there and go, "What is it you're even thinking you're doing up there? You are an idiot. Are you a stupid person? Why are you on my?" You'd go, "Oh no, okay, I'll get better." And I guess that kind of worked, but it doesn't work for me. So, and it doesn't work for, I'll have people come into my class and they'll go, "I just want you to kick my ass. Just kick my ass." They don't always have that voice, but sometimes they do. I go, that's just not what I do, So it's taught me empathy. It's taught me that as the student is learning, I am learning as well.
Right. Very Socratic. So, I think these are, what do you call these, soft skills, right? That are very that take time.
Yes, that's more of a. I think that's more of a. So when you're doing what I do, you're really, if you're going to do this full time, and this is what I do full time. A lot of people teach stand-up comedy workshops where they're still waiting for their ship to come in. They're waiting for that screenplay or that part, and I don't blame them. But this is what I do. So
Well, it's also you wear a lot of hats, right? And you've also owned a comedy club and operated a talent agency, and those experiences changed the way you look at entertainment, I imagine.
Yeah. So I think what I was trying to say there is that there's two sides of this. If you can do it full time, there is the creative side, there is the business side.
Right.
However, I don't know, since I never went to business school, or anything. There's terminology I'm not real familiar with, like soft skill. So I've had to learn how to do both. Yeah. And I guess what we do is a soft skill. But I read a Buddhist quote one time that said the softest thing in the universe overcomes the hardest thing in the universe. It was in a graphic novel, and I was young, and I think I was high, but it always stayed with me.
So, but having to not just be a performer and get paid, but actually running agencies and clubs and stuff, how has that changed how you look at comics and comedy in general?
You see, you just touch the screen. Someone's trying to call me on a phone, but I'm not taking that call because I'm speaking with you. Here's what it did for me. Okay, so in the early mid '90s, I became the booking agent for a club I actually then co-owned for a while. It allowed me to enjoy comedy again, because now I was looking at comics for do they entertain me? Do they entertain the audience? Instead of going, "Oh wow, he's really getting good," or "Oh man, yeah." So I'm competitive. You're competitive. We're all, competition is good, but competition can sometimes take away your. I think LeBron takes great joy in seeing a good player because he's not. He doesn't have to prove anything.
Yeah, he's comfortable.
But for all of us still trying to prove something, it sometimes can overtake us. It reinvigorated my joy of comedy.
Okay.
When I started working what I call the back of the room. I also made this weird discovery. Like I said, everybody moves to Hollywood to be a movie star. And at some point, I made this discovery that even though I'm pretty good on stage, that I enjoy the back of the room more than the front of the room.
Huh.
You
Okay.
know, I get a kick out of, because I've done this a lot in the past. You go into an empty shell of a room, some hall, and you want to do a show, and you kind of look at the hall and it's empty. There's no chairs or anything in there. You know, they have chairs. You can rent them, of course. But or a theater, and then seeing a show and go, oh, if we advertise it this way, and then seeing the people and seeing the person on stage. On that side of things, I was in the green room at the Tempe Center of the Arts, where I was for 12 years doing workshops and shows. And a show I had booked, not a student show, regular show, was on stage. I'm in the green room on my phone watching a basketball game. And this one comic who wasn't on the show, was there, comes back and looks at me, he's shocked. He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, I'm watching I call it a basketball game. Other people call it the LA Clippers. So I go, watch the basketball games. Why don't you watch the show? I said, look, I hired those comics. I hired them because they're funny. I've seen every one of them 100 times. Most of them started out my workshop. I go, that's who's going on stage today. I go, the room is full. There's ushers. They have drinks in their hand. The lights are on. The sound's working. I go, the only reason for me to really go in that room is if something's going really wrong. If you're running the back of the room right, by the time the show takes place, you're kind of useless. The only time that you're necessary is if there's something you didn't take care of beforehand.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's like a lot of things, right? Like sports and other stuff, right? If
Sure.
the management and everything. Um, I think
Something like being a baseball manager, I could almost be leaning against the railing, spitting tobacco, just watching for a few innings, then maybe go,
right.
let's bring in a reliever. I mean, half the time, it's a baseball manager's job, bring in a reliever or to go out and yell at an umpire, go, look, I got to yell at you because, everybody's looking, so I'm going to bump my stomach against you and you throw me out, okay? I need to get over to the white.
Yep. Yep. All right. Back to the students and talk about the school a little bit more. When they walk in for the first class, what are they usually most afraid of?
Oh no, I'm not them. I can assume some things. Um, I don't know. I don't know the great majority of people that come to our workshops. I think, because look, it's something that they decided a long time ago if they're going to take our workshop, even if they realize it, because this has been rolling around in someone's head for a long time. Like maybe maybe at a fantasy level, at a secret level, maybe it's been reinforced by friends and family. You're so funny. I think they're usually I think they're usually more excited, but everybody's afraid of the same thing, which is there was an old vaudevillian comic. This is what everybody's afraid of. And they asked him, they go, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of people not laughing? He went, oh no. He goes, I'm not afraid of people not laughing. I'm afraid of people laughing at me. So everybody wants to be laughed with, but most people don't want to be laughed at. Now I'll tell you, at this point in my life and my career, if I'm going on stage and I trip and fall down and face plant and they laugh, I don't care. If they go, he's an idiot, I don't care because I got the laugh. I already know if I'm an idiot or not. It's up to you to decide if you watch this, if I am or not in your mind's eye. So I think people are afraid of what they're really afraid of. I guess it's taken me a while to get to this answer. They're afraid of people not laughing.
Right.
So it's our job to show them these are the steps that you take to reduce that possibility.
I mean, we're tribal creatures, right? We want the group to like us. We don't want to get kicked out of the tribe. That seems kind of instinctual, but that happens a lot. They don't laugh at a lot of early jokes and stuff, right?
Yeah, I wish that the people that want to do stand up were a little bit more like boxers. I'll tell you why. Because if you want to be a boxer, you accept the fact that you're going to get hit.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a boxer saying, you could be the champion of the world, the best boxer in the world. you get in a ring with another guy, you're going to knock him out in the third round. But in those 3 rounds, that guy has hit you harder than anybody has ever hit anybody in normal life, because they're trained to hit you. So if you want to be a boxer, you got to go, I'm going to get hit. If you want to be a comic, you have to go, sometimes they won't laugh, and be able to, shake that off.
Right. Well, it's kind of like a lot of people nowadays with social media, right? They're comparing to everybody's post their highlight reels and stuff. They don't realize that comedic sets, when you see somebody's comedy special, they've already worked out all the kinks. And so it's not like they crush every single joke every time. It's their
Oh,
highlight reel.
yeah, you've hit it. When I first started doing this, I was doing this club, and this manager was kind of a cynical guy. You know, the back of the room, a lot of not there are some great people that run this business, but there's X amount of people that I'm going to stand in the back and chew gum and talk out of the side of their mouth. And this guy's going, no, well, these people are terrible. They weren't terrible. They were new. And yeah. I go, look, this is the beginning. I go, you don't see the beginning. You book headliners every week.
Right.
That's what you do. You book stars every week. I go, you hadn't seen the stars when they first started. I guarantee you, if you were able to see, you name any comic that you like or love or that makes you laugh, if you'd seen them, their first show, their second show, their fifth show, you would have, as a regular audience member, you'd be going, what?
Right. Well,
I've seen,
it's like anything else too, I imagine. Some of the best basketball players, baseball players, athletes, whatever, right? They like the game, but they suck and they practice and get better. I
yeah,
just heard. Do you know who Mr. Beast is?
sure,
Okay,
sure.
so
I got my Mr. Beast story, but go ahead.
oh sweet. Well, anyway, it just he got so much crap for his earlier stuff when he was a little kid. He deleted it, which is a shame because right now
Yeah,
he's the biggest YouTube influencer, and it would have been awesome to see his early stuff, but apparently it was bad.
I
From
guess.
worst to
The
first.
first time I heard of Mr. Beast was from my grandson. And he would just go on, and my grandson, when he was little, I don't know, he was 7 or 8 or 9 or something, and talking about Mr. Beast burgers. And the first time I heard the term ghost kitchen, and and I go, all right, I'm going to get this kid his Mr. Beast burgers. We had to drive to where it was, and it was like it was a pizza restaurant or a steak joint, but it was still during the pandemic, so we had to wait outside, and we put in our order, and they were supposed to take it out to us. The guy got the order wrong and thought it was a mile away. But I actually watched the guy walk out. We sat there for an hour waiting for these damn Beast burgers. They're pretty good burgers once we got them. But after the whole
Yeah.
time I'm going, Mr. Beast. It wasn't Mr. Beast's fault. It was the guy. I watched him walk out. I'm going, I wonder if that's our order.
Yeah, that's funny. Um, Circling back to kind of you on the corner versus you on stage, right? What separates someone who's like naturally funny in conversation versus someone who can perform consistently on stage?
Practice.
Yeah.
There's a story of Humphrey Bogart sitting in a restaurant, having dinner, probably with Lauren Bacall, and a customer comes over, a fan, and goes, Mr. Bogart, I don't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry, I apologize. He goes, but we were just watching you, and what we're amazed at, you seem just like here, like you're in the movies. He goes, that's the trick. There's a play by a guy named William Saroyan called Time of Your Life, which was a real foundational play in the beginning of the 20th century. And there's a character in it talking to someone, and there's a line that's always rung with me. And the line is, it takes a lot of rehearsal for a man to become himself.
Okay.
So that's the difference. I'm funny in the car. I'm funny with my kids. I'm funny, with the guys on the golf course, and then I walk on stage and it's, I freeze or I'm a natural. So it's almost the practice is to be your authentic self. Look, the minute someone's watching someone, it changes the person who's being watched. The minute I'm aware that you're watching me, you know? So that's the work. The work is to be, what's that stupid saying, dance like no one's watching,
Right.
why does it's trite now, but why does it ring? Because we all know we've all been Yeah, I don't know if you've done this or anybody who will be watching this in the future done this. We're at your house, you're acting goofy, you're by yourself, maybe you're talking to your dog and cat and you're jumping around, you're wearing a pirate hat. I don't know where you got the pirate hat, but and then all of a sudden your wife or your husband or a friend goes, "Hey," you go, "Oh," and they go, "Oh, that was funny. You keep doing it." You go, "No, I can't. What are you talking about? Shut up. Get out of here." It's just that learning how to trust yourself to be the way you are unobserved, but then also knowing how to put together something, writing comedy is a lot like writing music. It's it seems simple, but it's deceptive that it's not.
Right.
Why is a hit song a hit song? What is the difference between a band's big hit song and the one you don't really listen to? There's really usually not a lot of difference.
Okay. Well, you've seen some students go national, I guess you'd call
Sure.
it. Did they have any particular characteristics, or was it just,
Yeah,
dedication and
determination.
practice?
They had determination. They had determination. There's people who have determination, and it doesn't work out. We all go fishing, and we all stand there for 8 hours with our poles in the water. I get 5 fish, and you get no fish. Um, but they had determination. They two I can speak on who are two whose names are uh, more recognizable is Josh McDermott, who started out as a comic in our workshops and then got on a show called Last Comic Standing. Didn't last long. It was one of those shows, like when all those "you're fired" shows were popular, reality contest show. And from that, he got an agent, and then he moved to LA, and he was doing stand up, but he also started getting commercials. And then he ended up on The Walking Dead for 7 years, and now he's on some show called Fire Creek on CBS on Friday nights. I'm usually out doing something on Friday nights, so I guess I could take it. Yeah. So he came to every class. At the time, Tim. He was actually the morning show producer for when those funny morning shows were hot. So Tim and Willie was a big morning show in Phoenix, and he used to call him with prank calls, and they liked him so much they brought him in the studio, made him a producer, which is really a dog job. You're making like nothing. Those guys are making, 7 figures for going, "Hey, we're going to make this call and wake these people up." Well, he's the guy making sure to he's the producer. So he was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, producing this radio show, getting a little sleep, and then coming into even though he'd still come to the beginning class, and he'd come to all the advanced classes, not just the one that he was assigned to, and worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. And same thing with Michael Longfellow, who was on Saturday Night Live for 3 years and is a very successful touring stand-up comic. Just did a off-Broadway show, a play with Tony Danza. He was a teenager. Well, we were all teenagers at one time, although I forget that at this point. But his mom brought him to my workshop because it was at the Tempe Center of the Arts at the time, and he wants to be a comic, but he can't go to bars because he's underage. Little did his mom know, we later on found out. But she goes, "Can he take your workshop?" And he was quiet, and he absorbed, and he wrote, and he absorbed, and he wrote, and he listened. They just had that determination. They had talent. I've seen a lot of people with look, there's people you think have if you're going to let yourself think that. I try not to let myself think that. People that you think have no promise and they turn out to have promise. People you think have promise and they go nowhere. But with these guys, they were just, we've had other people who've gone on and done the Kimmel Show or successful show careers in radio, So with all of them, it's learning how to do it and then practicing. The big mistake most people get is bad practice. I believe that. You get some bad ideas. It's like going to the gym, and I can't really do it here, but say you're doing bicep curls, right? And you're doing them like this. You're raising your shoulders,
Right.
and you don't get anywhere. You just hurt yourself, and then you quit. So if someone could just explain to you, about isolating a muscle and that you don't need to use all that weight, you just use this much weight and isolate the muscle. that you're going to achieve your goals. That's good practice. These guys,
Right.
they got, I like to think good practice with us, and
Right.
then
Well,
applied it, and it's worked out.
sure, sure. Instruction makes practice worthwhile.
Boy, you could have saved us a lot of time. My answers tend to be a bit long-winded. If you would have just said, just say this. I go,
So,
okay.
Tony, what are some misconceptions people have about working in the comedy industry or entertainment business?
Um, well, you'll hear people always deriding Hollywood. Oh, those Hollywood people. And they don't realize, or they don't really think about it. Almost everybody you see on the screen, yes, there is the son of, but almost everybody you see on the screen, they came from Cleveland, they came from Florida, they came from Phoenix, and during what would be their prime earning years, while their friends are establishing careers, and having families, they're living in a one-bedroom apartment and going on
Grinding.
audition, like delivering flowers. They've got a college degree. You know, they work hard at it. They're just us who then, through talent and skill and practice and a little luck, then we know their names. Sometimes, look, just because your dad was famous doesn't mean you become famous. Everybody knows Michael Douglas. How many people know Eric Douglas? You know, how many know Michael Douglas's brothers? Michael Douglas, son of Kirk Douglas. Well, yeah, he knew everybody. The business doesn't work like that. Even in the stand-up business, somebody come in and go, I'm so-and-so's son. I might give them some time on stage out of a favor, but if people don't laugh, it's like, nah.
Yeah.
So the misperception is that these people are different than us. They're really not that different. They're
Okay.
not that.
Yeah, yeah. Great answer. There's a lot of people think, well, what's the old Dire Straits song? Money for nothing, right? That it's super
That's
easy.
for
They just
free.
show up and it's so easy. But there's same with professional athletes, frankly. People think that's pretty easy too. They've been grinding for a long time, their whole life, trying to get to that level. It's a lot of work.
People are amazing in a lot of regards, but one that I share with my students, like someone go, well, I took a couple classes, I'm doing a couple of mic nights a week. I go, do you know how much, NBA, what's the minimum contract in the NBA? 1,000,001, 1,000,008? That's the minimum contract, minimum salary. I go, so if they've got a 3-year contract, they're millionaires 3 times over. A lot of these guys are making 10, 20, 30, 50, 80 million. They're multi-millionaires. Yet when the season's over, most of them, when training starts, they show up and they do drills and they practice. And they got guys with whistles around the same thing with football. Football season starts, they've won a Super Bowl. They show up for training. Baseball players show up for spring training. So they don't go, oh, I'm a multi-million. I guess there's some who do, but they don't last long.
Right.
That's where talent, a lot of times, the guy's very talented. There's a great story about Jim Edmonds, who played outfield for the St. Louis Cardinals under Tony La Russa. And it was during, those really great years in the 80s, I believe, was it 90s? The 2000s, I'm sorry. When, they were winning a lot. And La Russa was very frustrated with Jim Edmonds. Jim Edmonds is making $3 million a year, and he's going, doesn't he understand if he just applied himself a little more, he could make $30 million a year? And they went, well, wait a minute. This kid his parents were poor people. His dad was a coal miner in Kentucky. To him, $3 million is a lot of money. So the people that apply themselves more have a greater chance of getting, the true rewards.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's rules to live by.
Yeah.
A little bit about the industry here. I mean, COVID aside, which clearly jacked up the industry, right? How has like stand-up comedy been changing since you began performing?
Well, when I started, here's how it kind of went when I started. There was a lot of work when I started. So when I started, I was 3 months in when I got my first paid job, even though I lived in Los Angeles on Hollywood Boulevard. My first paid job was in Phoenix, where you and I both are now, Greater Phoenix, at a place called Fitty Bones, which I later on realized was in the Biltmore district off Camelback, next to a Dillard's, in the back of a disco. It was a little room in the back. So I got the job. The thing was you could go on the road and make money. There were just clubs popping up everywhere. So you go on the road, and that's how I started working fast. It was a lot of
Okay.
work. So I just ran all over the country, just going everywhere all the time and working. And the idea was to do that, and then working towards getting on the Tonight Show, and then from the Tonight Show, possibly a sitcom or movies or Vegas, and your quote going up, there were guys making deep six figures off being touring comics at that time. There still are, but that's kind of what was going on. With cable, that kind of upended that a little bit, because there were other ways in. Sam Kinison said without HBO, he never had a career because there's no way he could do what he did on the Tonight Show initially. They were never going to put him on the Tonight Show till he already was famous or notorious. So where it's changed now is that the entryways are different. There's more of them, but getting noticed is much more. It's a different job now. So you can be doing your own social media, but you got to be relentless about. Look, I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning, and I have a show that I'm producing tonight. And by 7 o'clock, because I figured people would get angry enough with me then, from 6 to 7, doing all these social media posts. Then for around 7 o'clock, doing direct message text, doing all that. That's if you do that kind of work, you can become well known that way. I will say this. I think anybody who's thinking about getting live entertainment right now is getting in at a fantastic time. I think you're getting into what's going to be a new golden age. And I'll tell you why. With artificial intelligence, we're just in the infancy of artificial intelligence, and we're already beginning to see it change things. And more what we see on our screen, there'll be what you and I are doing less and less, I think. There's going to be people go, I never watch a movie made with AI actors. You go, well, you watch cartoons. They're not real. That more and more of what we interface with electronically is going to be AI generated. More and more work's going to be AI. And we're going to have that human desire to connect with flesh and blood human beings in person, even more than we do now. And I think you're going to see a renaissance in live music, even though some of these things already do well, but even a greater renaissance in live music, live theater, and live comedy.
Okay. Do you think this is making it easier to become a comedian?
Yes, it's easier to start.
Okay.
Just because there's more places to start. You see?
Okay.
When I started, there weren't, the sandwich shop on the corner wasn't hosting an open mic night on Tuesdays. There were comedy clubs, and they would have open mic nights, and you were treated poorly at those open mic nights, and they were on off nights. The Melrose Improv's open mic night took place during that time at 5 o'clock in the evening on Sunday, and they didn't let an audience in. It was just, and they pulled your name out of a hat. You wrote your name on a slip of paper, or you had a number to match the number, and just to go on that stage. Laugh Factory's Monday nights, not traditional go out nights. The clubs have also now recognized that there is some economic incentive to let the amateur take a chance and do a Tuesday night, the best of Sheboygan show. I don't know why I keep referencing Sheboygan. I like that name, Sheboygan. They loved me in Sheboygan, by the way. I got brought back there several times. They realized that, by you and I then telling 10 of our friends, and that they can fill it. So there's more. Yes. Look, money, but people go, all you want is money. I go, it's not all I want. It's on the list. Why should I be ashamed to want to make a living? You
Right.
know, that's what, that's one of those weird strains in some American thought. Well, rich people, well, most rich people are like the actors I was talking about. They, a lot of, how many of them started out dirt poor? How many of them came from
Yep.
a middle class family? Their dad sold insurance. Maybe, they had shoes in their own room, but, they didn't get Porsche for their birthday.
Right.
They went, you may fall to that category. I believe you do. So, there's more opportunities to start, but after that, you got to get, as Don Rickles told Martin Short one time after his third bomb movie, he goes, "Kid, all you need is one hit, but you need one. You need one, kid." You know?
That was great.
Yeah.
Now a sign of the times here. Are audiences more sensitive today? Still, it seems that they were for a while, and then or comedians simply facing greater accountability for what they say, or is it kind of a weird mix?
No, they're
And
not.
it's also online versus in person might be different too.
Sure. I think we're passing through that phase, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not judging the phase. Um, Look, people are always going to judge you. It's part of what human beings do. They're always going to turn the hero into the goat, and not the goat, not greatest of all time. I mean, like goat. That's going to happen to somebody, you know. But my observation right now, as you and I are talking here, in August of 2026, in case this, after 10,000 years, they're digging this is the only thing they find. And they base everything about our civilization on our conversation. Um, it's obvious here that they were both insane. Is that audiences, there's that audience that just wants clean comedy. And that always cracks me up because they usually follow the politicians who curse the most on national television. You know,
Hmm.
I was watching a Senate hearing the other day, and I don't know what the language level is here, but a United States senator is talking to a witness, and he goes, "Who the f do you think you are?" And I go, "That's a United States senator on national television."
Right.
This is not Skinamax. You know,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's always going to be that audience that goes, "Oh, well, we just want clean comedy," and that doesn't make any more moral. That's what you laugh at. But what I've noticed with audiences now is that they actually want a little more spice. So stand-up comedy was always an adult business. It came out of vaudeville. And in vaudeville there was burlesque, and burlesque was the more risque shows. They were the ones with the dancing girl in the hula skirt or whatever. And the comic who told the more risque jokes. Vaudeville was more the mainstream. That's always been that way. But stand up was done in nightclubs where people were drinking, and guys were in tuxes and women in gowns, and they wanted to loosen up a little bit. So it's always been that. And what I'm watching right now, there is comics for everything. Politically, if you're right wing, there are right wing comics. If you're left wing, there are left wing comics. If you are an X rated comic, there's audiences for all of it now. All of it. So political correctness, for lack of a better term, has always been there. Um, there were words when I started. You said and it usually had to do with the female genitalia. To be frank with you, if you said that, the audience would kind of shut down. You know, um, Sometimes Tim, it comes down to what they'll accept from you. Will they accept this language and this subject matter from me? That's where you have to have self-awareness as an entertainer. Oh, this guy, when he says that, you can be a child and go, it's not fair. He can say that and I can't. Well, okay. I didn't know you were still 9. It's they accept that from him or her and they don't accept it from you. Now you find a way to make them accept it from you if you pathologically need to do that. Or you go, what will they accept from me?
Maybe I'm also thinking about I'm grouping in university settings as well, which apparently have banned certain comics and stuff over the past decade. I don't know if
I always said, look, I tell you what, in the 90s, I got a call from the University of Oklahoma, a pretty conservative university. okay, in a pretty conservative state. And I was booking it, and I had a nightclub in Oklahoma City, and it taught me a lot about booking because there was stuff that I loved. I go, this audience just won't buy it. The stuff I'm going, I don't get it. And the audience is like, yeah. But they wanted Chris Rock. You go, we would like to book Chris Rock. And I go, are you guys sure? Because I kind of knew them, and I knew what Chris did. And they go, yeah, we want Chris Rock. I go, well, because his show is, they go, we've seen him on Saturday Night Live. And I go, yeah, okay. So I call Chris Rock's agent, and, I work a deal for him to University of Oklahoma and do my club as well. He does University of Oklahoma. A few days later, I get complaint calls from the University of Oklahoma. And that was in the 90s. And by the way, his show was not, it wasn't XXX rated. People go, there's a place. Now, what they're doing at universities, I don't know. I mean, they've always done that. Okay. So, for a long time in America, there were just things you couldn't say, or you could go to jail. Lenny Bruce used to go to jail for what he said in nightclubs. So this is nothing new. It kind of shifts around. I think certain people will heighten the awareness of things that seem outrageous for their own personal or political advantage, but there was a time you couldn't have put a lot of comics, still to this day, there's certain comics you can't put on a university campus, because of mores and stuff. But when they do, and then someone complains about it, it's now a shot that's heard around the world because of social media. That's what I think about that.
Okay. Right. Well, I'm sorry, this has gone really long. I hope that's okay. This is a lot of interesting stuff. I could keep going. Let's in wrapping things up, why don't you talk a little bit about advice for people who want to maybe try it out, check out comedyschools.com and want to dip their toe in the water.
Well, yeah. I do ongoing workshops in the greater Phoenix area. They can find about them by going to comedyschools.com or going to any of the major clubs in the city's websites, Tempe Improv, Stand Up Live, Desert Ridge Improv. We do free intros every 5 weeks. My phone number is all over the world. It's 818-571-5653. Drop me a text. And then we'll tell you when our next free intro is, and you can come out and check it out for free. I also do a Zoom workshop. I have, which was huge during the pandemic, is smaller now, but still significant, where I've got people, I'm sitting here where I'm sitting right now, and I've got people from North Carolina, people from Texas, people from Idaho, and they're doing the workshop on Zoom. So I offer one-on-one training. So the best advice I've ever given anyone in my life, Tim, is this: go to comedyschools.com. If you've thought about being a stand-up comic or enhance your performance skills, if you want a career in stand-up or you just want to have some fun, go. Just comedyschools.com. That's a comb, by the way. It's not a real switchblade, but it's.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Tony Vicich, for joining me today.
Tim,
very much
appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, man. It's great seeing you again.
All right, and go.
Let me ask you a question: should I hold on to my SpaceX or dump it?
I would hang on to it. I think SpaceX is awesome. I think
it's inside a mutual fund. I own a mutual fund that my advisor goes, we can't sell this mutual fund to this guy anymore because he's crazy, but it will make money leaps and bounds. And then like a week later, I'll go, oh my God, I still have to work. And then the next week I go, I'll never have to work again. But the guy owns a huge amount of space. I go, should I dump this fund? Huge amount of SpaceX now.
Nice.
I'm hanging on.
Position. Yeah, do it. All right. Thank you very much, Tony. And thank you everyone for listening and watching.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.